Good evening. It's 6 p.m. This is the meeting of the Northborough Financial Planning Committee. I'd like to take a roll call call the meeting to order and take a roll call. John Ray.
Present.
Susan Satori.
Present.
Ken Picard.
Present.
Rob Babcock.
Here.
John Rappa is here. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda, public comment. Any members of the public? We don't have anyone present in the room. I don't see any hands raised. We'll give it another couple of seconds.
Zero attendees.
Okay, all right. We'll move on. Second item, approval of meeting minutes from February 25th. Do I have a motion to approve these?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2025 as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda, Northborough Cable Access Television Department. Dana, please join us.
Thank you, thank you. Let me grab my presentation here.
It's 6 o'clock, I make a lot of noise, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for having me today. So again, I'm Dana Volke. I'm the director of Northborough Cable Access over here for the town. We're a town department. Thanks, Chief. And
I had one more coming.
so we are currently 100% funded by 5% of residential cable revenue here in the town. And I'm here to talk to you guys about Article 31, an annual town meeting about the purchase and replacement of the Teleview Hypercaster system that we have in our office. And, come on now. Oh. Hey, there we go. Okay, all right. So what is the Teleview Hypercaster B2000? What this is basically the heart of our operations over there at Northborough Cable. This thing runs 24/7, 365, and it has for just about 10 years. We bought this thing in 2017. The initial installation cost $114,639.89. When you buy from these companies who make these broadcast servers, you're basically buying into their whole system. So that included a lot of other hardware and a lot of programming to get this going. This thing runs, like I said, 24/7. This is our 3 PEG channels that run on TV, but it does more than TV stuff. It's a web-based interface. It manages all of our on-demand content that's online. We have all 3 of our channels that run online at the same time. So if people don't have cable, they can watch our 3 channels at the same time. Basically, it's a schedule it schedules all of our content that we have, and it picks up through IP all of our live streams. Just like tonight's meeting, it's being sent out over what's called an RTMP stream. It's going back to the Hypercaster, which then distributes it on TV, YouTube, can go on Facebook, and just for anywhere else that can accept an RTMP stream. It's an extremely robust system made by Teleview. And it does other things like it runs our bulletin board, tickers, things of that nature, and it does a bunch of our archiving onto our NAS server as well. And it's coming up to end of life. So if anybody is familiar, if you have like an IT background or computer background, when something reaches a certain age, the manufacturer will no longer even service it, even if it breaks. So like I said, this thing has been running 24/7, 365, and once it gets up to that date, if it breaks, they will not fix it. And this thing has to be on, like I said, all day, every day. And we already pay just shy of $12,000 a year for support for this stuff, for this and all the other hardware that comes with it. So even if I'm paying for that, if the thing decides to kick the bucket one day, I'm going to call up Teleview support, and they're going to say, yep, sorry, you're out of luck, you're up the creek, and we're going to be completely off the air. We won't be able to stream on TV, stream on YouTube. It's going to be a huge, huge issue. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where we have to have one of the things. We have to have these things. And we have these cable contracts with Verizon and Charter, and we are obligated to be putting content on Verizon and Charter while we're still under these contracts. If we weren't under contracts, we would just be up on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else that's online, but because we have these contracts, we have to be streaming our stuff up on TV. So it's one of those things where we still have to have one of these machines at this time. And so there's the replacement of the server itself, which is $53,690, just to replace the server and a bunch of the hardware that comes with it at this time. So again, like I said, there's very few other companies that make this stuff. There's only maybe like two or three that I'm aware of. But again, you're spending a lot more money to go with another brand because they'd have to bring in a bunch of their other hardware and reprogram everything. So, that's why it makes more sense just to go with this product, just to replace it here. So, there we have it. Yeah.
How much do we spend with Fios and Charter a year?
How much do we spend?
Yeah,
When you spend on.
I thought we had some financial obligation for them to broadcast for us, Fios and Charter. Did I mishear that?
No. So the way that it works is we have these contracts with Verizon and Charter.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Where they give us money for our operating budget.
Oh.
About 5% of residential. So it's only residential. It's not if you own a business and if you have a restaurant, you have a TV or anything like that. It's just for residential in town. So
5%.
5% of your bill. So if you have if you're in town, you have Verizon or Charter.
Yeah.
When you look at your bill when it comes in the mail,
Yeah.
there should be a little peg fee down there,
And that comes to us.
and that comes to us for our operating budget.
How much is that?
So, let me pull some of that out. Sorry, I know you guys wanted to get 3 minutes. Oh, geez, I just had that information over here. So all in all, so let me tell you, in 2024, between both, we took in about 194,000 between the two.
Okay.
There are 2,277, as of the end of 2024, 2,277 Verizon subscribers and 686 Charter subscribers.
Okay.
We're going down about 10% every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's buying cable anymore. And unfortunately, we're in this system
Susan,
where...
right? You buy cable?
Oh, God, yes, I buy everything.
Oh, hey!
Buys cable. So you did.
Infomercials,
All right.
all the apps and everything,
there we
too.
go.
Hey, great. You must be my number one viewer then, right? Of course. So there are, I asked Andy Dowd, there are, what was it, just a tad over 6,000 residents in town, and we have, it was shy of 3,000, it was like 2,875, if I recall, last time. So when I did the math, it was about 48 or 49% of residents in town still have cable, but it's going down.
And are there any, so I noticed, well, I'll let you finish. So you're asking for 53,690, you're asking for everything on?
Oh, no, just the 56,390. So what happened was, when they sent me this quote, they sent me the quote of replacing this equipment, and those are other add-ons. They're like, if you want these things, we can give these to you.
Okay,
But these
so
are
no
things
service contracts, no branded apps, none of that stuff?
Yeah, no, we're not
Okay,
doing the branded apps or, there's one in there for closed captioning and whatnot. We can do all of our closed captioning through YouTube, which is free.
And when's the last time this broke?
Oh, boy. All of this equipment, every now and then, goes offline, and funny enough, it almost always happens like on a Friday night when I'm about to leave.
Yeah.
Stuff goes down, you have to call up support. They're actually really good with doing this, with taking care of us, just considering how much we pay for it. But yeah, stuff does go down, stuff does break. It's happened where this or some of the other encoders, they break, and you have to, I keep the boxes that they gave to me and all the foam because you have to ship it back out to them. I think they're out in New Jersey. They fix it or they send me a new one or, they try to replace it. So,
And what's the date in which this is no longer supported anymore?
the beginning, it was February of 2027.
So.
I'm sorry. 2027. So the reason why I'm looking into this now is because if we can get this approved now, then it'll give us time to, to get everything ordered, purchased, and ready before that one ends. Because what might happen is, I'm afraid if I did this next year, by the time everything comes in, the system might already be out of warranty, or might already be at end of life. So, So if I can get in just a tad early before that happens, because you never know with these, who knows if something's baked in where it's gonna die right after it ends, its end of life, you know what I mean? Who knows? So,
Dana, a couple of quick questions. So you'll do the swap out, you'll install this?
no, they do it.
They'll come and
Yeah,
install it?
Yeah, they come in, there's no way I could do it. They have to come in, rewire a bunch of stuff, they have to go on the computer and they have to take everything that's in that machine, transfer it over. There's a whole lot of work that's involved with that, so.
That's the rack that it's in?
That's over at our rack right
There
now.
a UPS in that rack?
Yep.
Have you ever looked?
It's at the, below,
Yeah,
you see,
I got you.
there's our NAS server. It's
I got
actually
you.
right down the bottom.
You ever
It's
lost power?
crossed out. So in the school, so we're over at Algonquin, and what happens is, there is a generator in the school, and all this stuff is plugged into one red outlet that if anything goes out, which happens quite often at the school, boom, it keeps that thing up and running.
Good.
And the APS keeps it so there's no loss of issues there.
Okay. Is there a firewall on this too? Is there a firewall on the server?
On this thing?
Can I hack in and say, I've asked you scurvy dogs, I've taken over town hall, I'm holding a select board hostage for $7.58?
Oh, wow, what a good question. Geez, you know what? I'm gonna have to talk to Telview about that.
Okay,
Find out,
please.
yeah, I'm not quite sure what they have for security measures.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are things over at the high school? Did you have quarters there for a while? I know
we've-
there's
we've been
been
in
talk
there.
about moving out, things
Yeah.
settled down.
yeah, so we have been over there for a long time. When they remodeled the school, they made us a whole wing over there. But yeah, I've been talking to school administration. They're looking for some room for their folks, and I think it might be more appropriate for us to move out of that space at some point. I know there've been some talks about 4 West Main and potentially, or some other spaces. I was talking to Jen over at the library about, we kind of dabbled in a talk about, well, if we had to move, maybe we could go over there. Problem is, we have a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? We have, this is just a portion of what you're seeing right here. So there's a whole big rack, and then on the other end of the school, there's this data closet. We have all this stuff from the cable providers up there, and to move all that stuff is a tremendous feat.
Yeah.
That would be
So
huge.
had they given you a date that they would, okay.
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet. Nothing, they haven't said, oh, we're evicting you on this day, this time. I just know that it's one of those things that they would prefer us to move out at some point so they can occupy that space with their own folks. That's totally fine. We just need to develop a plan. But the problem is, there's not a whole lot of other spaces for us to move. You know what I mean? So,
And does the town of Southborough use any space over there too, or are they in their own space over in their town?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I don't
all right.
know, not sure. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
What's the lead time for this?
Probably a few months, most likely.
Why not just come back next year?
Because, John, he said that the lead time to bump into the end of life of the existing server, he's concerned about colliding with that.
Yeah, just in case, if I would like to get this in just a tad early, so that way there's no gaps. If this thing hits end of life, and then if it's designed to fail or who knows what, and then they won't fix it, and then we're off the air for who knows long until it gets
Yeah.
installed.
And there's no risk of it having a more updated version of this in that year in which you could wait, where,
Well, if they come up with a newer version,
yeah, if you order and it's here in August, there's no risk of,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
When I talk to them about that stuff, they say, oh, no, this product is future-proof. You don't have to worry about there being a better version coming out at that time, so.
and they haven't given the end-of-life date of the new product. You'll get that once you own the product and you're
10
into
years,
it.
that's it.
10 years, okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and like I said, they're a great company. I've been working with them forever. This company, Telview, I've been dealing with them since 2009. So they've taken very good care of us, so.
Keep it.
Any other questions? Dana, thank you.
Hey, Great.
Through the chair. Can I just
Jason.
share that the proposed funding source of this is the cable fund, as Dana described, so there's no calculated taxpayer impact to this beyond the cable fees that folks are paying on their cable bill.
Thank you.
And the-
I think it is.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
great, thanks a lot.
Chiefs, have you decided who's going to be second? Chief Parente.
He gets to go first, Thursday night.
I'll get you all queued up here.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you very much.
Dana, thank you again.
Except just us covering mine.
Yeah, sorry. I can move it up a little bit. Just do it for you real quick.
Move it up to the top of the screen. There you go.
There we go. Plenty of room for you. Oh, I'll move this too.
There you go.
Okay, great.
I should always be at the top, thank you. Thank you all. One of the things I like to do every year when I come here is just to give you guys an idea of what kind of year we've had, how busy we were, you know, what services we're providing. So in 2024, we did 2,365 incidents. Okay, out of those, 17 were building fires, and that includes our mutual aid fires. And we had a total of 27 working fires, which would include car fires, brush fires, those types of things. 491 of our calls were overlapping calls, meaning we had another call happen before we could clear that call. Sometimes they're 2 deep, sometimes they're 3 deep, sometimes they're 4 deep. The other day, we had 3 within 30 seconds. It was crazy. But sometimes that doesn't happen at all, so it's just it's a guess sometimes. We dealt with 1,514 patients. Of those, we transported 1,279 for a total of 9,652 loaded miles. Now, those loaded miles are just one-way miles. So that's from the scene to the hospital. So you could double that for total transport miles and then include from here to the scene, right? So it gets and the reason I put that is because one of the things we're talking about tonight is an ambulance. So you need to understand the wear and tear that we go through.
And Chief, real quick, what revenues associated with those 1,279 patients?
So the 1,279 patients goes into our revolving account, or is billed and then goes into our revolving account based on what we get. So what happens is we bill about $2 million a year. Of that $2 million, the insurance companies have what they call ordinary and customary or allowed fees. Those allowed fees are significantly less. I mean, like probably more than half less. And for example, we would bill Medicare, Medicaid for a ALS call of a little over $2,000, and they pay us $400. Okay, so what we bill and what's allowed, we can't control that. We have no control over that. That's what they do. So we bring in about $1 million last year.
Close to it, yeah.
Right around $1 million last year is what we bring in.
What's a revolving fund?
So revolving fund is a fund, so we have 2 revolving funds. Revolving fund is a fund that is utilized so all of our ambulance fees goes into our revolving fund, and then we use the revolving fund to support all of our EMS responses. So what happens are all of our EMS response needs. So on July 1 of every year, what's the direct charge, Jason? Almost
Oh, yeah.
400,000?
So I'll just share, this
I'll let
is
you
all
explain it.
activity that happens outside of the general fund, so
Yes.
it's not part of the general fund budget. The fire department's revolving funds, they're promulgated as town bylaws, so every year we just need to reset the spending limit that comes from it. So there'll be an article at town meeting on the warrant every year that sets the spending limit from each department's revolving fund that has one. In the case of the fire department, theirs is a little bit convoluted because we pay expenses out of the revolving fund directly, but there's also a vote at town meeting to underwrite their department's budget. It doesn't increase their budget, but it helps the general fund the fire department budget with a transfer out of it, and that's voted in a transfer in the town's budget article. So that's typically
It's
around.
close to $400,000.
It's getting close to $400,000. So of the $1 million, $400,000 is that transfer. There's direct expenses that the funds that fund some of the, I said fund 5 times. Pays for certain expenses of the department directly. And then in addition to that, it pays the debt service for ambulances. So every 3 years, we buy a new ambulance. So 1/3 of an ambulance cost is budgeted for within the revolving fund. So it doesn't affect the general fund taxpayers.
Okay, and what are the other direct expenses that it
Um,
covers?
Payroll expenses related to the EMS fund.
So payroll expenses, any medical equipment that we need, so all of the drugs we have to buy, all of the, anything, all the stuff that's related to EMS
Supplies,
services.
Yep.
Vehicle maintenance for the EMS vehicles and all that, right? So, last year we did 39 public safety events with 5,547 interactions, issued 945 permits, and then we conducted 962 inspections. Great. This is what I do to prepare my capital improvement plan for you guys. It starts immediately after town meeting. First thing I do is I review the previous year's plan. Did it work out? Did something not pass? Where are we sitting? Then I look at cost trends, and cost trends are researched multiple ways, one of which is contacting chiefs in the area who have just purchased. And that's a very simple way. We reach out to our providers. We reach out to Greenwood, we reach out to Pierce, we reach out to E1, look what their costs are for vehicles and where they predict them going. And they normally have an idea. They say it's going up 5% in 6 months. It's going up 10% in 6 months. So we do that. I then look at order delays, which plays a big role now. It used to be when I said I'm going to replace a vehicle in 2023, at town meeting in 2023, would approve, we'd order it, we'd have it at the end of 23 or at the beginning of 24. That's not the case anymore. So it's caused some issues. And then I look at the capital items condition and the serviceability, because that greatly affects, you know, there's an asterisk there, because we're going to talk about that a little bit. Then the next thing I do is, are there other ways I can fund this? Other ways besides the CIP? And we do this every year for some items. As an example, we had our self-contained breathing apparatus in our CIP for 6 years. On year 5, on the very last year, we got a grant for $300 and some odd thousand, and we were able to pull it. We did the same thing with our portable radios. We got a grant, we were able to pull it. So that we always look for other ways, through Department of Fire Safety, through the SAFER grant, through the AFG grants. We look for donations. We had some very generous people donate $15,000 to us just recently. And we were able to use those to buy some items that would have otherwise had to come out of some other budget. And we look for regional cooperation. So sometimes we can get together through the Central Regional Homeland Security Advisory Commission. We can get grants through there or get money through there as well. So those are all the different areas we look.
May I ask, who
Sure.
writes your grants primarily? Who actually writes your grants for you primarily? Whose job is that?
So I have I cheat. So I have my hazardous materials assistant, Michael Parr, who happens to be a captain in Maynard. He lives in town. His father is a former high-ranking person in FEMA who did grants. So Mike does all our grant writing for us.
Oh, okay.
Right? Now, when I say Mike does our grant writing, it's Mike with a team. So it's normally Mike, and depending what it is, let's say if it's an apparatus, it would be Mike with our mechanic and with our captain in charge and with the deputy. Let's say it's self-contained breathing apparatus, it would be the deputy in charge of that, or the captain in charge of that who would work with Mike. So it's a team, but Mike really knows how to hit those key words that we need.
How much of his time is probably spent doing that?
Not a whole lot. He works 19 hours a week. He's scheduled for 19 hours a week. And he's pretty good at it. It doesn't take him a whole lot. So he does our EMPG grants. He does all of our grants.
Okay, thank you.
So the other thing, then I look at our replacement schedules. And our replacement schedules are, for large apparatus, are about 20 years. So when we purchase an ambulance, an engine, it runs about 10 years first due, 5 years second due, and 5 years reserve, if we can. Lately, it's been running 10 years first due and 10 years second due, and then we replace it. There's a couple reasons for that, normally because the wear and tear is up on it. And you have to be careful looking at just the mileage, because you also have to look at the hours. Our trucks go to the scene, you could drive 2 miles to get to the scene and pump for 10 hours. So you have to look at and I'll show you how we do a conversion for that. Ambulances are about 10 years. Smaller vehicles are 10 to 15 years, depending on the condition. Turnout gears is 10 years. We don't have an option with that. That's National Fire Protection Association says you need to replace your turnout gear every 10 years. and our self-contained breathing apparatus are about every 10 to 15 years. And I give you that number because that fluctuates based on what the new standards are and when the new standards come out. So this year, and here's where this asterisk comes up, we ran into some challenges this year. So Medic 3, which is the medic unit on the right on the bottom, okay, the big green monster there, green-white monster, that needed numerous repairs. It needed about $12,000 worth of repairs. So we had sent it out, did all these repairs. A few months later, what happens? Get a blown engine. Done. I'm not putting any more money into the rig. I'm not putting a new engine in it. It's crazy. So that truck's out of service. That's scheduled to be replaced. You threw me off there, buddy. Except now you're.
It still would have the cable presentation. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Still the cable presentation.
So you're gonna have to go find, I got it here. So we were, where are we? Here. Right?
Yeah, that's the page you're
Okay.
on.
Yep.
Okay, that was a lucky guess. That is scheduled to that was scheduled to be replaced in 2027. Okay, I'm sorry, there was no order for that already. It was scheduled to be replaced in 2027. Medic 2 needed repairs. We sent Medic 2 out. We ended up doing about $23,000 worth of repairs. The last trip back from Foxborough, blew an engine. Catastrophic failure, out of service. That truck was scheduled to be replaced, and that rig is currently sitting in Attleboro. It's just being finished up. So that'll be here any day now. It could be here next week. It just needs its striping and the radios put in, and it'll be coming here. So what did we do? Well, we borrowed an ambulance from Maynard for 3 months, because they were nice enough to say borrow ours until theirs broke down, then we had to give it back to them. Worked out well, because that's when we purchased a leftover ambulance from the town of Westboro. Westboro gave us a great deal, $7,500. We had to do about $12,000 worth of repair, and that thing ran first due until the first week of February. So it was great for us. So we did that, but now we got to figure out, and I knew this was going to, oh, there we go. No, it worked. I have 2 ambulances out of service in Opera. I got one sitting in Foxborough, one sitting behind the station. What are we going to do with them? Right? One of them was supposed to be traded in 2027. One of them was supposed to be traded against the ambulance that's coming in. Well, my deputy is, he's pretty sharp. He actually facilitated traded both of them for more money than we were supposed to get originally. So we traded the 2013 and the 2016 for $9,500 each. By trading those, that gave us enough money to purchase this Lucas chest compression, which we would have to buy anyway with the new ambulance, but now I don't have to take it out of the money for that account. Right? So that's really out of the box thinking. How can we leverage these 2 ambulances that are no good to us? And if you probably saw back when they came and picked them up on Facebook, a big flatbed came and picked them both up and drove away with them both because they weren't driving anywhere. So that's what we did. We then said, okay, what are we going to do? Because we now have this 2013 ambulance. We need to do something because we can't wait till 2027 because our backup ambulance right now is Westboro's old ambulance. And our first due ambulance has about 100,000 miles on it. So what are we going to do? So I researched this with the possibility. I spoke with Jason. I spoke with the town administrator, and I said, look, there's a lot of departments right now. What they're doing is they're signing purchase orders with, or purchasing with for ambulances and fire trucks, and they're saying it's contingent upon passing the next town meeting. And this is the advantages to that. It locks in the price right then. So we don't have to worry about the price 6 months down the road. So we lock in the price then. It also locks us in the delivery date. Now, I signed this in August. Look at the delivery date expected. 875 days. January of 27. That's if there's no problems. I can tell you the one we had right now was supposed to be in 6 months ago, and it's just finally coming in. So by locking that in and getting that signature, and we asked them, we said, is this okay? They said, people do it all the time. I said, well, what happens if town meeting says no? Don't worry, we're going to sell it.
I know, right?
Don't worry, we have all these other people that are waiting. We're going to sell it. So this truck is in the queue. It's all set to go. If it passes town meeting, we're all good to go. So I think that, again, that was my captain in charge of apparatus, Captain McManus, brought that up to us. He said, hey, can you look into this? So we started looking into it, thought it was a great idea. Jason jumped on board, so there we go.
Are those contracts protected for cost overruns, Chief?
Well, so what it does is it locks it in on that date.
Right.
So if for some reason something extraordinary happens, they'll come back to us and say, hey, we can't get this truck if it's a different truck. But that truck that they bid at is the price that we get it at. The only time it would change is if we made a change to it, a change order, or if they said, hey, the truck that you bought, that Ford truck is no longer making them, so now we have to go with the Dodge, and the Dodge is this much more expensive. Okay.
I'm thinking with the tariff situation, the cost of aluminum and steel on
Don't-
vehicles.
yeah, Don't say that word to me. I'll talk about that later if you
Fine,
want.
okay.
But that's
All
been,
right.
been the bane of my existence for the last, yeah.
Fine.
So this is our, my CIP. Now, this year, Jason did something a little different. Was it this year? And he said, do 10 years.
This
Well,
year.
I've always done 10 years. And I've always done 10 years because that's what I did when I was in New Hampshire. We had to do 10 years. So it worked out pretty good for me. I didn't have to do a whole lot different, right? But so, and the ones that are highlighted, I'll speak about when I get to them. So this coming year is the ambulance, the $550,000, the one we signed a contract for. There's also at the bottom, you see personal protective equipment, $165,000. And I'll talk about that when I get up to the sheet and why we're looking for that. And then in 27, we're looking for $450,000 for Squad 4 and $95,000 to replace Car 2. People say, well, you're replacing a car, why is it so expensive? Because we don't just buy the car. We buy radios, we buy lights, we buy sirens, we buy the commands, the center that goes in the back. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. It would be nice if we could just buy the car, but it doesn't work that way. A lot of stuff goes with it. We reuse stuff if we can, but we can't always reuse stuff. So if you look at it, this is fiscal year 29, which is when the tower's expected to be replaced. My guess is that's going to go up. Right now, it's at 2.2 million. I seriously doubt it'll be at 2.2 million in 29. We're paying $1 million for fire trucks now, for fire engines. So it's great. It's crazy. There's the next ambulance, and all the way out there is another ambulance, and the forestry unit that will all need to be replaced. So this is the little breakdown to show you. Medic 2 was ordered in June of 2022. We're going to get it maybe this week or next week. Okay? That resulted in Medic 1, as of yesterday morning, having 103,600 miles, which equates to 202,000 miles. Again, what we do is we take 40 miles an hour and we multiply it by the hours. And we do that because all the idle time is wear and tear on the engine, wear and tear on the pump if it's a pump, not so much an ambulance, but they spend a lot of time idling on scenes. And this year to date, it's done 171 incidences. The maintenance for 2024 for that truck was 15,000, and so far this year, it's been 2,900. And I take you down through the whole thing to show you everything. So I'm just going to try and hit on the things that we're replacing. Engine 1 is the next engine that's coming in. That's the one that Jason spoke with the select board about last night. That's scheduled to do in maybe in August or September. We're not sure. That could be pushed out further. We don't know. That's got a 647. Well, that's nothing. Yeah, but it's got 3,215 hours because it sits there and pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps. So it gets a lot of hours on it. Again, not a whole lot of responses with that truck because that's normally our second due. First due is engine 2. And then Squad 4, which is the other thing I spoke to you about responding. You can see that's got 260 responses so far. Busiest truck that we have in the fleet. Goes to every medical call, goes to gas calls, goes to CO calls, goes to a ton of things. If you look at the fiscal year 24 maintenance, nothing. So far this year, about 6,000, which isn't unusual. I mean, I was shocked looking at last year's. So that's where we sit with those. So this is ambulance. This is our current Medic 1. This is what it looks like. This is the project sheet that we turn in. Again, $550,000, that money will come from the revolving account, so it has no impact at all on taxes. That is paid for completely from our revenue that we get from providing ambulance service. This was a scheduled replacement, nothing new. This is what we expected to do, right? This is our turnout gear. So if you guys remember,
Can we
Sure.
stay on the ambulance for a
I'd
minute?
be happy to.
So if, you mentioned about if the warrant doesn't pass, right? The warrant article doesn't pass, assuming it may not pass in another town, and an ambulance became a vehicle, would you jump on that and grab it early?
If
If an ambulance came available from another town not passing an article, would you grab that so you can get it earlier in the fleet?
It would truly depend on if the ambulance is going to meet our needs and what the condition is of our current rigs. So yeah, it's something we always look at. But we wouldn't know about
So
it.
you're not set into, I have to have certain things. You want to get an ambulance, right? So if it comes available, you're gonna jump on it.
Again, it depends on the condition of the, if it's.
Brand new, right?
Well, right, but there's certain things that this ambulance has. For instance, this has a loading system, a Stryker loading system. If the one that came didn't have that, we'd want it. That's another $60,000 added on. So we'd have to look and see what that does to the price. Is it going to add it, be more expensive? Is it going to be less? We'd look at a lot of things. One of the other critical things we do is we try to standardize our ambulances.
I guess the point I want to make is that if it's available,
We'll
and
look
meets
at
your
it.
criteria, you're going to grab it.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Right.
I'm not going to say definitely because we'd have to look at it and see what it looks like.
If it meets your standards,
If it meets our standards, correct.
you're going to grab it.
If it meets our
You're not
standards.
going to wait.
If it meets our standards,
Yeah.
right.
Is it accurate, you have one working ambulance right now?
No, we have two right now.
I,
Well, as of 3 o'clock today, we were down to one. We'll be back to two tomorrow.
okay, so one was temporary and one is.
No, so right now we have our Medic One.
Yeah.
We have the one that we bought. What we're missing is our third backup, which is the one that we normally keep as a mechanical spare. We don't have that now.
Medic
So
3 is the one?
right now it has been, yes. So what happens is, so the current Medic 3 that you're seeing on there
Yeah.
is the one we bought from Westboro.
Westboro.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
That should
Right.
be your backup. That should become your backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what'll happen, that'll become our backup. Medic 2, Medic 1 will go to second due, and the new Medic 2 will go to our primary, right? And the reason for that is, we need to keep two ambulances in service, because we are hopping
That's my
that much.
point. You would jump on an opportunity if it meets your needs.
If it
You're
met
not
our
gonna
needs.
wait.
Yep.
Jump on a used ambulance, I'm hearing?
No,
he's-
a new one that
a new
someone else
one,
didn't pass.
Another town
I
that
understand.
doesn't
I
pass
understand.
the muster, they don't pass the
Yeah.
article, if it becomes available, we're gonna grab it because we're not gonna wait.
Yeah.
We good with this?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
The turnout gear, when we were, if you guys would recall the SAFER grant, we got the eight new people, we had to equip them, we came before the select board to ask for some funds from the CARES Act. ARPA? Wow, I've been around too long, Jason. From ARPA. And there was a lot of discussion at that point in time. There was concern that, well, we're not comfortable buying new turnout gear for just 8 people. We think everyone should have that same level of gear. Heard that from several of the members of the select board. So I put together a program to purchase enough of the new PFAS reduced, PFAS-free gear for all of our people. And that's $165,000. So that's why this came forward. Based on comments from the select board members, they said, select board members. I keep wanting to say select board members. That's why this is forward. We are currently seeking grants to fill this. Through the AFG grant, through a few other grants, we may get it, we may get partial grants. So lots of times with some of these federal grants and these state grants, we get partial grants. So they say, okay, we'll give you 50% of that. Okay, so, which is what we did with the DFS grant. We got some of the offset for some of the gear. So that's what this one's for. Any questions before I go
Yes.
go on from this one? Okay.
The equipment, the gear that you had
Mm-hmm.
before the select board opined on getting new, how old is the gear that everybody's using currently?
So we have, all of our guys have 2 sets of gear, all of our people, right? So their primary set is their newest gear. Their second set, some of that is pushing, we should be getting rid of it. It's 10 years old. So we would have been taking, every year we purchase new gear for a certain amount of people. Their primary gear becomes their secondary goes away. So if we're looking at the secondary sets, some of those are pushing expiration dates at 10 years.
So you've had a replacement plan in the past where you're getting 5, 6 a year
Oh,
or something?
so a set of turnout gear, as you can tell, so this is for 28 sets of gear. It's very expensive.
Yeah, so in the
So-
past, did
so-
you have a
so-
replacement plan that's
So, yes, we
smaller?
do. So we purchase about 3 to 4 sets a year.
Okay, so we could continue with that
We
plan
could.
in this time?
We could.
Okay.
Right, and the only reason I went forward with this, to be honest with you, this wasn't even on my,
Yeah.
on my screen, was because, hey, you guys should have it for everybody. Well, if you think that, if you're passionate, and they seemed very passionate, so we put it forward.
Yeah.
But you're comfortable with the existing gear you have?
Yep, am I comfortable with the gear we have? Yeah, our guys all have pretty good turnout gear. I'm comfortable with the replacement schedule we have. Again, that's why this came forward, was because of the
So
drive
you
to
have
the
a
select
good,
board.
solid replacement
We're
plan?
not foolish, that's why we have that.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's why we have that.
All right.
All right? This is Squad 4, so this is the one that's out to 2027. This is a busy truck, as I said. This truck has a pump on it, has a tank on it. It does brush call, it does, so we get a ton of calls. We get a lot of mulch fires up at Shops Way. Tons of them. This truck does a lot of those calls because there's a black mulch, and the black mulch sits there in the hot sun, and when it's wet underneath, it starts to decompose, it heats up, and we get fires up there all the time. Plus, people throw out cigarettes, and if they do it too deep and if they don't peel off, for all those people at home, don't do your mulch deep. When you do deep mulch, the stuff underneath of it heats up because it naturally decomposes. That's why it's the law for commercial buildings, it has to be 18 inches away from the wall, it can't be near the wall. Well, people, what did they do at home? They put it right up against the wall, right by the siding. Yeah, so it's not a good idea. So that's what this truck is, and that's replacement of car 2.
What's, I mean, car 2 looks like it's 53,000 miles on it. It's 10 years old. I mean, I got a 2007 with 165,000 miles on it. Is there an issue with this car? It's high maintenance?
It's starting to get some body rot. And if we can fix it, great. If we can't, our cars, the difference, and I've had this discussion with a lot of citizens over the course of my years. Well, my car's got this. I said, I got it. My car at home has 100 and so I've got it. If my car doesn't start, it's not a big deal. If these cars don't start and don't run, it's a big deal.
Well, is there idle time on these cars
Oh, yeah.
also? So there's more than just the mileage, there's
Yeah.
the idle time.
So this was before it was car 2, was my car, and before it was my car, it was the previous chief's car. So we go to an incident, we're at an incident for 10 hours, that truck is running the entire time. And with everything on it running, all the lights, so it's putting a wear and tear on the whole system.
Okay, I think it's good to make that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I just look at a $100,000 Chevy Tahoe, 2015. That's a great car, 55,000 miles on it, even with idle time. Those cars you pay premium for those because they're great cars.
And we trade in these cars when we purchase, so we get whatever.
What's the
we can.
trade-in value of it?
That we don't know. I got to tell you, I've been shocked sometimes. Well, we don't have this because we're not looking at it right now, so I don't know what the trade-in is right now because we're not.
But the body rot's pretty substantial right now.
It's not substantial, it's starting to get, it's all fender. You typically, you can't really see a lot on this line.
Nice car.
Yeah, again, I used it for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, and now the deputy's using it. So that's why this is here.
Okay, I was surprised that 10 years for life seems, for a car of that quality, seems slower
But
than
again,
expected.
so it's, by the time we get this replaced, it'll be 13 years, 14 years, and I replace them every 10 to 15 years. So it's right in there. That is my presentation for you folks tonight.
Thank you.
What do you have for questions?
An update on the fire station?
My bane, yes, what do you want to know about it? So this is
That
where.
it's going well.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, the fire station has been, I work every day on the fire station. I'm either talking to our architect, our owner's project manager, I'm looking at Project Dog. Project Dog is where the bids have been placed. So right now, the bids are up. The bids for our subs close on Wednesday night. Now, that originally was the original closing day for that was about 3 to 4 weeks ago. We've had to keep pushing that out. We've had to push it out because we've had changes, we've had addendums to the specs, so we have to push it out to give the subs time to update it. We also get what's called RFIs, requests for information. We've had 163 RFIs, so that means a contractor of some sort, either a GC or a sub or whatever, submits a question. If that question drives a change in the specs or a clarification of the specs, everybody has to get that clarification and have time to redo it. So that's why they've been pushed out. So our sub bids close Wednesday. Now, in the old days, when I first started in the fire service, and we bought a new fire truck or we did something like this, everyone sat in a room like this, and we all opened up envelopes, right? And you open it up and you'd write it down and everyone would make notes. It's called an electronic opening now. So at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, it'll open, and by 3 o'clock, I'll know who the low bids are. So the way it works in Massachusetts is though low bid gets it, unless they've been excluded. Well, everyone who bid, we will look, were you on the pre-qualified list? That's why we do pre-qualifications. If they've pre-qualified, they're on a pre-qualification list and the low bid, and they meet what we've asked for, then they get the bid. So that's due then. The GCs are due on the 21st, which is next Friday. And it's same thing, they'll be electronically opened at 2 o'clock. We will get those, I'll have that breakdown of those and who the low bid is by 3 o'clock that night. And then we meet with the Fire Station Building Committee on 26th or 28th?
26th.
26th, thank you, whatever that next Wednesday was, I couldn't remember. And what we'll do at that Fire Station Building Committee is the owner's project manager's job is to present us with the bids, with a summation. This is your low bid, this is your high bid, this is who gets it. And that's where, and then hopefully break ground sometime in April,
Okay.
third week of April.
How much of your time's being taken up with this?
Just a couple minutes. A lot. But that's, but again, that's why I'm very lucky. I have an amazing deputy. I have great captains, right? So if I can't get to something, I said, Dep, can you do this? Or Cap, can you do this? For instance, right now, today, I have 3 guys that are down in Pennsylvania doing a final build on the new rescue, which is due in, but they have to go down and sit with the engineers. I didn't go. Because I sent the deputy and the captain and one of the members of the committee so I could stay back here and do this stuff.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Yeah.
Chief, when you go to get a new piece of equipment, what's the process to configure that? Is there something online which says I need 3 of these and 2 of those, and need this color or
Oh,
that color?
great question. So there's lots of different ways to buy apparatus. You can buy custom apparatus or you can buy commercial apparatus. I can't tell you the last time I saw a fire department buy a commercial apparatus. Commercial apparatus is what our tanker, have you ever seen our tanker? Seats 2 people and you're right, there's no place for extra people and it's just, it's a commercial truck. We buy custom trucks. So what we do is we put a committee together well before it's time. The committee sits down, the committee gets sets of specs from numerous different providers. They go to Pierce Manufacturing, they go to E1, they go to KME, they go to all different manufacturers and get specs. And then they also go visit different departments. They take all that information, they come back and say, okay, we have all this information, and then they sit down with me. And I say, okay, guys, this is what I want you to do. I want you to build a truck that will do this job. If it's an engine, this is what it needs to do. It needs to be this size pump, it needs to be, I don't want a tank smaller than this, I don't want this and this and this. And then they sit down and they build that truck. And then after they build the truck, they come to me and says, this is what we built. And I said, look, I said, okay, do we really need this? Well, that's a one. Do we really need this? No. Okay, get rid of it. Do we need this? Yes, we need that. Why do we need it? This reason. Great, we'll keep that. And we go through that, and then when that's all done, then we can go ahead and purchase the truck. Now, what we have a lot of items available to us that we go through. Houston Galveston Area Compact is one of the ones we use. There's also FCAM, Fire Chiefs Association, that already pre-bid these trucks. So they've already been bid, so we don't have to now go out and do a general bid. We can say, this truck's been vetted, it's been pre-bid, it's an approved bid, this is the truck that we want. So it's a long, it's not a simple process, it's a very long process. We've been fairly lucky with ambulances in that we've been able to standardize our ambulances. Because when you're in the back of an ambulance and you're a paramedic and you're running a cardiac arrest, you want to be able to reach up and know that this is the compartment where that item is. And if every truck you get into, it's in a different compartment, that's not a good thing. So one of the things we've really tried to do is standardize the back of that ambulance so we can make sure it's the same for every ambulance.
So when you spec this, height, width, and length
Oh,
are
everything.
important?
Yeah.
You don't want to buy something bigger than your garage door.
Well, I've been down, I can tell you departments have been down the road. A very good friend that was the chief of the Methuen Fire Department, we worked together in New Hampshire for many years. They bought a ladder truck, it didn't fit. They had to build an addition so it would fit. Yes, we make sure that the trucks fit length, width, weight, everything is checked out. We spec everything from the brake pads all the way up through. That's how a custom truck is built. You don't just say, build us a truck. You say, this is the transmission we want, this is the motor we want, this is the brakes we want, this is whatever, everything all the way through. And you do that, so again, that standardization is important, so we have our mechanic can stock this instead of stock this, so it saves us money.
Can I circle back to the equipment request? If by chance it was not a popular thought, how would you put your replacement plan back in place? Is it through your
It has-
operating budget?
well, It is. So in our operating budget, the very bottom, there's a line for,
I think it's called capital outlay.
I think it's called capital, and it was put in there years ago to cover items that could be under the capital, but aren't probably quite enough money-wise to be under the capital, right? Capital's 25,000 or more in the life of
5 years.
5 years. I knew that. So that's the type of things that we purchase out of there. So the chest compression, that would come out of there. Our turnout gear comes out of there. So what would happen is, if this is turned down and we have to go back there, then that's what we would do. We'd go back and we just continue our purchasing process. If it gets passed, there's always equipment that we hold off and hold off and hold off and hold off and wait for either a donation or something. Well, then we'd be able to purchase that equipment this year or next year out of that, as opposed to waiting.
Okay.
So I want to piggyback on that. Chief,
Sure.
Did you say they were going to use, the select board is going to use ARPA funds?
So for part, so part of the, so all of our firefighters have one set of gear, right? So
Yeah.
part of the purchasing of that
They
set of
actually have
gear.
two sets. They got the primary and the
They all have
secondary.
two sets. Our 8 new guys, to buy the total first set, we used a $19,000 grant from Department of Fire Services and 36,000, roughly 34,000 of ARPA funds to buy all their one set of gear.
Okay.
So this would allow us to get a second set for them and to replace the other gear for the new people, for the other people.
Okay, thanks.
It's a little unclear to me, just, what is your ask for this year versus, I see some stuff in fiscal year 27, some in 26. What explicitly are we asking for this time?
So for this coming year, it's that one ambulance and the
Ambulance.
turnout gear.
That's it. The rest is information only, get us aware.
I'd like you guys to know what my 10-year plan is. It's not fair if I don't.
No, yeah,
You're the planning, financial planning, so I'd like you to know what our 10-year plan is. But
Yeah, that's-
all we're
that's-
looking at for this coming year is the ambulance that we've already signed a contract on, right? And the turnout gear, that's it.
It's important to know, because if we ask to have something pushed out, or the town
It
wants it
certainly
pushed
is.
out, it's good to know when it's in the next year that you're pushing to the next year.
It
so,
certainly is.
yeah.
It certainly is.
And again, just this fire, I'm a little, I think it's becoming clear, but how many sets of fire gear are you buying with the personal protective gear
That's
replacement?
28.
You're buying 28. And how many, okay. And if this wasn't a conversation in town meeting, how many would you be buying? I'm sorry, with the select board. The select board
Oh,
challenged you with
how many
it.
would I be buying in a regular year?
Yeah.
3 to 4 sets.
3 to 4 sets.
So what'll happen is, we'll slowly replace, some guys will run gear, second sets of gear that end up being 11, 12 years old until we can replace those, which again, isn't optimal. They're not normally, the reason why they run their second sets of gear, let's say if they went through a structure fire right now.
Yeah.
And they got wet. You don't want to wear wet gear into a building because you get burned, you get steam burns. So they come back. And also, you've heard me talk about, for the last 3 years, cancer in the fire service. So the first thing they do when they come back is the gear gets torn apart, and it gets washed. Their spare gear comes out, which is in a bag in the station, and goes right in their locker. And then when the other stuff gets cleaned, they put it back together, put the spare gear away, and run their primary set.
All right, so you have a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not crazy. Well,
I'd say you're methodical.
Any other questions, folks? Chief, thank you.
thank you very much for your time. I greatly
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Let's be careful out there.
Yeah, I will. My deputy just sent me a text. They're on their way back, so. Yeah, that's good.
Chief Griffin, please join us.
Do I? Hang on, just because, now, well, let's not forget, just because I'm old, I'm the tech guy, don't forget. Yeah. Are you going to bring it up? Or do you want me to do it? This button to the right, that changes it. That button goes back to the front. I know, buddy.
Chief, do you have to stand by as tech support for Chief Griffin?
Good.
Where's Marshall?
He can be here. Hi, everyone. Brian Griffin, Chief of Police, and it's nice to be back. It's my first full year. Last year I was a rookie. Now I'm a seasoned veteran police chief. But, I apologize. I wasn't at the financial summit in August. It was happened to be away that week, and I had a presentation that I was all proud of, and I guess there was some sort of failure with it didn't work. So I have a slideshow. It's not as lengthy as that financial summit one was going to be, but this will highlight a little bit about what we've done this year, where we're going, and the capital for this coming year and the years out. A lot of it is vehicle-related towards the end, so I can kind of speed through that. But before I start, I do want to, the fire chief left, I thought he was going to hang for this. ARPA did, we did receive funding, I believe it was $25,000 in the fall, to conduct with the fire department or with the town a communications study of our overall communications in town, having to do with police, fire, DPW, and the schools. It's something that needed to be looked at. We're having some issues talking to each other on our radios, and I just wanted to kind of put that on your radar screen a little bit. The study's almost complete, and we should have some numbers as to what might need to be done in the future. So there are some things, a lot of. No problem.
Keep going.
Sorry, Chief, but it's not broadcasting
Oh,
over,
okay.
over the air.
That's fine. A lot of, there are a few slides in here and a few items in my capital that have to do with communications. Those could be pushed out a little bit. They could be grouped together, depending, a lot depends on this study that comes back and the consultant that we've hired to look at our overall communications in town. So again, we've worked closely so far with, the schools are very much involved with this as well. So stay tuned. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of brief you on that.
Something for this year, potentially?
I don't think so, not for this year, because I don't even know if that study is going to officially be done before July 1st, so, but definitely, possibly in the near future. So anyways, let's get rolling. Put our mission statement up there. Just some of the our accomplishments over the past year that I would just really like to highlight. First of all, our department is fully staffed right now, which is I'm going to knock on wood because I don't think that's ever happened in my 26 years here. There's always usually an opening or two, but we are fully staffed. You know, if somebody chooses to leave to go to a larger department or the federal government, you know, sometimes we do lose people to the state police, Worcester Police, the FBI, the DEA, and certainly those things do happen. At the moment, we are full, which is really nice. We have one our officer who just got off her field training. She graduated in December, so she's out on her own right now too. So it's great. We're able to accomplish a lot more things when we have the people that we need to do what we want to do. But these are some of the accomplishments that I'd like to highlight that our team took part in this past year. We did receive our 7th accreditation award. I highlighted that last year, but we actually got the award, which is nice to put on our wall. We held a Veterans Appreciation Dinner. Our association did that. We're actually hosting our second one next week, Wednesday night at the Legion, for any veteran in town, sponsored by the Police Association. We introduced a health and wellness program for all staff, and that was part of my budget last year. It's a program that all officers now have on their phone. It's a simple tap if they need some assistance. There's a lot of good resources for them. They've bought into it. We've, obviously, you know about the dog. We developed and implemented a comfort dog program to benefit both the community and the department. The dog is way more popular than any of us and has more Facebook friends than our department webpage. But it's been a great addition. It's been a great community policing. Community policing it has been great. Just bringing down the barriers between the officers and the public. It's great. We created a senior liaison position, which we have 2 officers currently assigned to, assisting our senior population with some various needs that they may have. They spend time at the senior center. We created a traffic supervisor. We established an annual employee recognition day, something that was lacking in the past, and we did that at the end of the year, right around Christmas, where we presented some awards for jobs well done. We created a second lieutenant position. We promoted an officer to a sergeant. We brought back our youth police academy, which was a huge hit for the kids in town. We're doing that again this year. We assigned one of our officers to be a liaison to the Special Olympics right down in Marlboro. We do a lot with them. Assigned all officers to participate in active shooter response training. We do that every year, but this was an intensive program that all our officers went through. We participate in drug take-back day, gun buyback day, Be Well event at the end of the school year, trunk or treat, events at the senior center. We increased our social media presence. And when this is one I'm really happy about is we developed a fairly formal internship program. Our profession is struggling with recruitment, and we need to do a better job industry-wide as to how we market ourselves and recruit. So we go to career fairs now. I've tried to establish a pretty good rapport with some local colleges. I personally, I'm an Assumption grad, and a lot of my interns do happen to come out of Assumption just because I do have that connection there, and they do have a criminal justice, a minor in criminal justice. We have an Assumption student right now, but this year we actually have an internship with Algonquin, the career resource director. Michelle Kalin, I believe her name is. I met her at a coffee with the chief hour and last year, and she bounced the idea about the programs they have at the high school and asked if we'd be willing to do that. So currently we have 2 seniors in high school. One of the young man was here today with us for about 6 hours. He comes every Tuesday. And the other student, she comes tomorrow. So, and then our Assumption student comes on Thursday. So it's great, and I do think it's great for them. It's great for us, and they do certainly help us out with things around the station. They've been helping us with the accreditation process, which is always an ongoing process. So I'm happy about that. We did some upgrades around the police station. Obviously, you know what's going on outside. There's been a lot of talk about that. That should be done. They're replacing all of the front windows. The front doors and the big, they call it the storefront windows. That'll be replaced starting next week. That should take a week to complete. Then they'll finish the siding, and then they'll paint it. And I'm happy to report I picked out a paint color yesterday on my own. It's called Midnight Blue. So I think everyone in town should like it. If you don't, you can blame me. But I think it suits it will suit the building and the town well. We did some more upgrading in the interior of the station, specifically the fitness room, the training room, the female locker room, and our lobby. That's just a picture of us receiving our accreditation award. And this was always nice to get. I remember it was acknowledged at the at town meeting last year. You know, take it for what it's worth, right? Sometimes these studies are kind of funny.
Can we have like a murder the next week or
Well,
something?
we weren't going to say that because
Reckon now.
when possibly when that incident happened, I may have said to my wife that we may not get this award again. But it is always nice to receive recognition and just a recognition that the officers are doing a great job. And I think local realtors like to show that too, but it is good. So what are we doing? What have we done? Throughout 2024, we responded to a total of 18,626 incidents of police calls for service. We work closely with the fire department and assisted them with over 1,200 medicals. Typically, when they go to a medical, we go to a medical. In rescue calls. These are a snapshot of some of the things we've done. There's our one homicide on there. But what the unfortunate number is that top one, right? The mental health intervention calls. That is just unfortunately going up every year. It seems like we do have a clinician on staff right now that it has been a wonderful addition to the police department through the advocates. Our officers conducted 7,726 motor vehicle stops. So we are a very proactive police department. Unlike there's some communities that, maybe they check in, they do their 8 hours, and you don't really see or hear from them. Our biggest complaint in town is traffic and speeders. So our officers are out there doing a good job and doing their job and hopefully keeping our streets safe. We had criminal complaints, 279 went over to Westboro District Court last year. We had 434 motor vehicle accidents that were reported to us. 247 arrests, 92 of those, I believe, were drunk driving arrests. And then our communications division, which, you know, they are the unsung heroes. They really are. And I'll talk about that more when I get to the Capitol. But 4,759 911 calls, 23,000 business calls, 22,000 fire and radio transmissions, and 56,000 police radio transmissions. I love to see those numbers. Just, they are a busy group. And that does not count, what's not shown up there is the amount of people that come into the lobby for everyday business. So that dispatcher is handling those calls and the lobby, the calls, the transmissions, and the walk-ups that come to the window for various needs.
So Chief, it
Yes.
just, you have almost 80,000 radio transmissions. The need for that study is obvious.
100%, yeah, 100%.
And your business calls are non-critical?
Correct.
Non-emergency?
Yep. Usually. Some people do call and are like, you should be calling 911 for this. These are some of the ongoing programs, and I won't get into each of these other than the last couple, but the Communities for Restorative Justice is an interesting program that we take part in. We're one of the only ones in Central Mass, only police departments in Central Mass that are part of it. It's more of an Eastern Mass, Suffolk County type program, but it basically keeps the juveniles out of the court system by it's a second chance type program, restorative justice, where they're going to come in and they meet with the victim, they meet with a group, and we talk about it. They set expectations, and they have to follow through. We can use them on, we don't use them on every case, but certain cases would apply to it. I mentioned the jail diversion or the clinician before. I don't like the word jail, because what she does is, when we got the program, it was to keep people out of jail for mental health reasons, but not everyone that has a mental health issue would be going to jail anyway. So I don't like that. That's just the way the advocates worded it when we had, we don't pay for this. It's a grant. Anyways, it's a great program, and we share our clinician with Southborough Police.
Chief, on active shooter, do you do training with the fire department, state police, schools, et cetera?
Yes,
Can you talk
correct,
a little bit
yeah,
about how you do that and how many you've done? in
So
recent-
we all of our department just completed a fairly significant training with our fire department in Uxbridge. It was wasn't through FEMA, but it was through an agency. It might have been even the Mass Fire Services. Anyways, it was a 3-day training, so we would send 3 or 4 officers out 3 days at a time. The fire department would send their 3 or 4 firefighters out at a time. So it was not only an active shooter type training, but it was a rescue operation as well. So how to respond to the situation and how to rescue. Very informative, very good feedback from our officers. But we're constantly training for those type of things, but we're also trying to educate people on workplace violence, and whether it be in office buildings or churches. We're asked to give a lot of presentations on the topic in town, and usually one of my detectives handles that.
Thank you.
All right, capital budget. So for this coming year, FY26, we will be asking for 3 police vehicles at $175,000 and body-worn cameras at $65,000. Currently, our fleet consists of, this is same slide from last year, but our fleet consists of 3 different makes. We have the Chevy Tahoe, the Dodge Charger, and the Ford Explorer. The Ford Explorer in police language is called the Police Interceptor Utility. It's technically not an Explorer, even though it looks just like an Explorer. They call it the Interceptor. So those are what's in the fleet for our marked units. We have administrative vehicles, detective vehicles that, the ones at Ford Fusion. There's a couple, but these are the ones you see on the road. For the foreseeable future, we'll be purchasing the Ford Police Interceptor for patrol vehicles. we're going to purchase hybrids when they're available. The jury is still out on long-term use of the hybrids. We've had them for a couple of years now. We haven't had any issues. The officers do like them. There's been some grumbling from the mechanics that we deal with. Some departments have been having some issues. Knock on wood, we haven't. So long-term use, I guess the issue is idle time. Once again,
I
that
was gonna
famous
say,
word is the idle
exactly
time on the
right.
hybrids. If they're available, I plan to purchase them. We do like them, and I think that the officers do like them. Clearly, it's going to help out on a lot of things in the environment, gas and whatnot. But if they're not available, we'll go with the gas. It's about a $2,000 difference $2,500 difference between a hybrid and a gas model. The hybrids were tough to get. Last town meeting, I was pretty clear. I specifically was asking for the gas because of the availability. Our wait time isn't like the fire departments. Just listening to the chief, like the whole build out and sending people down, the engineers. I mean, these are pretty standard cookie cutters. If you go to Westboro, if you go to Southboro, they're paying the same price that we're paying, minus $1,000 here, $1,000 there, right? Give or take a little bit, but they're pretty standard for the most part, Ford offers a much better warranty. We're taking out the premium warranty right now on these vehicles, which covers us for 100,000 miles. I think it's 5 years, it might be 4. And that has helped keep maintenance costs down. So the base price is about $47,000. Once when you add in everything to it, lights, computers, a ton of wiring, radars, graphics, $75,000, give or take. But that's what I was last quoted at a couple weeks ago. And that's what. Yep.
So your patrol officers, chief, are these vehicles running across 3 shifts? So they're running virtually 24 hours?
I think I have a slide on that, John. Maybe the next one. So yeah, our basically our fleet is operating at about 16 hours a day. If we have 4 or 5 cars out on the road, the officers ride in their own car. They don't double up or anything like that. So the cars could, they're running 365 days a year. 16 hours a day, and our officers are out there. They're not in the station unless if they need to be for writing reports and things like that, dinner. But they're out there. So the cars are running 16 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Do they take these cars home?
They do not, except for I take a vehicle home and the 2 lieutenants take a vehicle home. The others do not. The fleet replacement schedule we've been using for over 15 years works very well for us. Chief Mark Leahy, who was 2 chiefs ago, kind of developed this rotation system, and it's worked really well. Our fleet's in good shape right now. We were getting backed up a little bit around COVID and during the chip issue with the vehicles. So again, like the fire chief a little bit, where we would purchase a car on July 1st. About a year or 2 ago, it was taken over a year to get. That time now is down to about 6 months. So if I order a car July 1st, I should have it by January 1st, typically. If it's an administrative vehicle, it'll probably be sooner than that. So again, it is working well. Our current plan, like the chief's, is planned about 10 years out. I think the chief said it well. I think it's critical that we stick with this schedule. It's worked. Knock on wood, we haven't had issues with vehicles breaking down, and these vehicles need to be ready to roll at any given moment. And we just don't want to gamble with that.
Can I ask you
Sure.
on this right here that actually shows your
Yep.
rotation plan? What would happen if this year people thought it would be best if you went with 2 and you just started changing your rotation plan so that next year was 3?
Yeah, I mean, I
Is there
have a
any-
plan.
Is there any leeway in your
I have a
plan
plan.
that way?
I have a plan for that. Again, our fleet is in good shape right now. I would push out a detective vehicle, which is usually not your first responding vehicle, to the following year, and we would just, we would go Last year was 2 cars.
So that would work for you this year?
I could do it,
Okay.
100%, yep. And then we would come back and ask for, we just wrote, next year we'd ask for 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're okay. Our fleet's okay. You know, especially our mainline cars. The only concern I would have with that, Susan, would be if it continued that way, two,
understand.
and then things are going to get really backed up. You know, so, you know, right now, in the past, our schedule was 4 years of service or 100,000 miles. We would trade the vehicle in. I've thought about that as I was presenting this, and I really want to kind of change it to 5. We could get 5 years out of these vehicles, 5 to 6 years for these vehicles now, especially with the extended premium warranties we're taking.
Okay.
We can get them there. Yeah, so that's why I said I've changed that because it was always, you know, 4 to 5 years. Now I think it's more 5 to 6.
I think this particular year, we're really looking at places where we can make some wiggle
Yep.
room within the budget. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like in this particular line item, you would not see it as a horrible hardship for your fleet.
No, correct. Nope, I wouldn't.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Always get that question, what do you do with the older cars? Older vehicles typically get traded into the dealership. We get very little for the return on them, $2,500 maybe. These are vehicles that, again, running 16 hours a day. They are really nice. They look nice, but they get beat on, put it mildly. You know, accelerations, hard braking. Somebody sitting in a seat for 16 hours, the seats get warped, the wiring's an issue. So we don't get a lot for the trade-in. Our most recent vehicle we traded in, we did give it to the DPW for their use. So clearly, if there's a need in the town, we'd rather give it to the town. Okay. And that's a snapshot as to our fleet as it stands.
So just to be
Yep.
clear on this particular page for fiscal two,
Yeah, so.
which would be the one if we could defer one and push it off?
Yeah, sure. I would probably eliminate number 3, which is the one on the right, the Chevy Equinox. That's a detective vehicle. We currently have one, which is the one that's seen there. And that is assigned to our detective sergeant. The one I'm requesting, number 2, which is a administrative Ford Explorer, which is pictured in the middle. If we were to get that, the detective sergeant would get that car. It's just a little bigger. He's technically in charge and command at major scenes, and one of the detectives would get his vehicle, so he'd get the one on the right, and then we could push one out for another year. So I have, there's a detective sergeant, and I have 2 detectives and a school resource officer who all fall under our detective bureau, so.
And those cars stay at the police station?
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, they'll, I mean, there's an occasion where they may bring them home if they are on call and things like that, but for the most part, they stay at the station. So these are the 3 vehicles, again, that we're asking for this year, a $75,000 Interceptor patrol vehicle, administrative vehicle, which is a 25 Explorer, and the Equinox. And again, if there was one to be knocked out, that would be the one.
Okay.
Any other questions, folks?
Sorry about that.
Chief, thank you very much.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done yet? Oh,
No, it's got
I don't want to kick
cameras.
you out, I mean, I thought you were done.
I brought a show and tell, so it's always,
It's a puppy.
no.
No.
I bring the dog in too.
Yeah. Do you have those
Dog
now?
biscuits.
Not yet.
So this,
All
yeah.
brand new. So if I may approach?
Yeah, please.
So these are the body worn cameras, and I'll talk to you about them.
How's the police, what's the attitude on with the
Very,
team?
very favorable.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you just touch it, feel
I
it, press
already
it. They're heavy.
did yesterday.
Just, I ask that you don't mention the brand name because we're still in,
Negotiating?
exactly.
But you're looking not at the brand name, I think. You're looking at the other one, right?
We're looking at, there's 3.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna, the one in your hand is probably the one we're gonna go with.
Oh.
It's in the middle of the road, and
Yeah.
it's got very good reviews.
Oh, good. Okay.
We're looking at, I looked at the pricing. There's 3 major brands.
So that one there, that's not reflective of the price of the brand I see there.
Correct, yeah, that's probably not the one we're going with, which is the one.
I thought they had a monopoly. Wow.
They are very close, but
Yeah.
that one's a close second.
Where is it warned? Because it's
find
not
stuff.
light.
Yeah, so that is not light. That is going to be, let me start here. So we're requesting a body-worn camera program, 24 cameras that would be given to our officers, and the storage. Total cost is $113,000, and that's, these companies do, this is like a 5-year startup fee. After 3 years, we get a full camera replacement, which is included, which is nice because the technology might change. After the 5 years, we would then build into our operational budget the yearly fee, which right now is like $20,000 a year for the storage. That's for all the cloud storage.
Not included in this. This is the acquisition cost.
That's correct, yeah. This 113 will include everything to get us going. Cloud storage, the hardware, software, yeah. So we did apply for a grant in the fall through the state, and we did receive 48,000 of the 113. So 48,656 we received. There's one more round of grants we believe that are coming out in April. It'll be the last of the grants offered for body-worn cameras in the state. So we will be putting in for that as well. I really wanted, I think we had put in originally for, I think, let's say $100,000 initial request. We got half of it, which was great. I would really like to get the remainder, and I think we have a good chance of getting it from what I've been told. But until that time comes, I would be going in front of town meeting to ask for requesting $65,000 to cover the 113.
What is the difference in price between the different manufacturers? Is it?
Probably not good to say.
Kind of like it's kind of like Nike and Adidas.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like Coke and Pepsi. You know, they're definitely, there's two major brands that are on the market right now. I've sat with the sales reps. I've seen the presentations. I've done my research from different departments, and the one in your hand is got really good reviews. The state police have them.
What's the battery life?
You beat me to the question.
I believe about 12 hours. So it may be longer. So if they're working a double, they would have to switch over. I think it may be 16. Maybe 16 hours. Yeah.
Outstanding.
So basically, the way it would work, more and more police departments throughout the country are purchasing them locally. Pretty much all of our neighbors have them right now, minus Marlboro. I don't think they have them yet. I saw Cambridge just started it today, I believe. So they got to be one of the last big cities to use them. It's just a normal piece of equipment today. It's like being issued your baton and your handcuffs, and now you're issued a body-worn camera. Transparency, officer safety, evidence documentation, and liability are key reasons for this purchase. As Jonathan, as you said, what's the buy-in from the officers? I think if this discussion was being had 5 years ago, it would be a lot different than it is today. Yep. They recognize it. They are very much supportive of it. However, we are at the moment in our contract talks with our unions. So it is a piece that has to be bargained. And as Steph, we had a meeting today with our unions. That is a work in progress still. Our contracts expire in July. But the officers do want this and recognize the importance for their own sake. They recognize the benefits.
So Chief,
Yep.
one of your officers arrives on the scene, he has to turn it on.
Correct. Yeah. So we already have the
Obviously, they
policy.
Turn it off.
Yeah. So we already have the policy written. That was part of the grant. As far as who wears them, who doesn't wear them, when the light goes on, when the light doesn't go on, there's obviously privacy concerns, things like that. Obviously, you have to let the person know they're being recorded. So right now, the way it's written is our uniformed officer, every single officer will be assigned one or be given one, including myself. We won't be requiring like our lieutenants to wear them unless they're going into a high-risk situation. Typically, they're more admin type stuff. Same thing with our detectives. They'll be, if they're doing a search warrant, things like that, they'll be required to wear them. But our uniformed officers on the road will be wearing them. provided the contract gets signed.
I offered them Chick-fil-A and they said they're all in.
Yeah, exactly. Two of the biggest challenges with body worn cameras is the storage and managing the requests, the public records request. That is the biggest challenge, is who's going to get that job. And nobody really wants it. It's basically part of discovery right now in courts where, we have a case, we send it over to district court, and the DA or the defense attorneys are requesting our booking room videos, they're requesting officer statements, and they're requesting body-worn cameras video. And we've always been able to, well, we don't have to deal with that. We don't have them. So it is very, very time consuming, and something that, myself and our lieutenants, we'll develop a plan. Right now it's, who's responsible for that. It'll be probably an administrative person, but it's a big, people roll their eyes because it's a lot of work to just answer those requests. Everyone wants them.
So Chief, if you're at an incident and you apprehend somebody, you're going to record that.
Correct.
That person's put in a cruiser, taken back to the station.
Yes.
The camera goes off during the trip?
No, I believe the camera will stay on during the trip. Yep.
When you come to the booking room,
That's
it's the same
videotaped
camera
anyways.
or another one?
Yeah, we'd probably leave it on too, as well, to just another angle. But yeah, then it picks up, when you come into the garage.
Okay.
Good. I'm sorry, any more questions on the body cameras? Okay, again, still hoping to get the remainder of the grant, but happy to report that we were able to get about half of it.
Great.
I'll kind of go through these ones quicker because that was FY26 and what I'm asking for. And FY27, I'm not going to harp on the vehicle rotations. I think I talked about that enough, but I did talk about the communications study. I talked about, and this was on for last year too, that hasn't changed, is the communication center upgrade at 180,000. This communication study is looking at that too. So they may say, yeah, you need X amount of dollars, and it's going to it'll handle that. It's going to cover that. So I honestly don't really know where I'm going right now. I don't like to say that. I know what I'm doing, but until that study comes back, I'm not going to really spend a ton of time on the communication side of things, but just stay tuned.
I would just like to say, after going through last year, your tour that you took us on, you definitely need an upgrade.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So here's our current picture. This is, again, a snapshot. The gentleman in the far in the picture there is our communications director, Chris Carlton. He does a great job. This is kind of all piecemeal together right now. It's 1980s cabinets and desks, and we replace the chair every year because people sit in it all day. But it's piecemeal together at this point. A lot of Band-Aids, a lot of wires that go all over the place. And again, you saw the numbers at what they're doing for work in that room. We do have, and it's on my budget this year. I'll talk about it in front of the meeting on Thursday night. But a request for an additional dispatcher with the additional 8 firefighters that the fire department's getting. We're asking for 1 additional dispatcher. Ideally, we would have 2 dispatchers on every shift. Currently, there's a good deal of time it's just 1, and we had that homicide. We had a few fairly significant incidents this year that really overwhelmed dispatch. If you can imagine that a phone call for a shooting, coupled by dispatching multiple law enforcement agencies, fire departments, answering the phones to neighbors, wondering what's going on. And then you got a walk-in person to the lobby at 1 a.m. looking for directions to Starbucks. It's a lot for one person. So, there's a request on the paper for that. Again, this is just a better look at it, and this is something we'd like to go to if we were to ever upgrade. Just kind of a lot cleaner, just flows better, better working space, better working conditions. Obviously, much newer police stations too, but. I'm not going to talk about that.
Are there any grants for some of this stuff, or?
There are. Yeah, there are. There's definitely things that we would look into, and I think it does cover yeah, some things, but not everything.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
but yeah, we'd look into that. And this is like a rendition of what we would foresee it kind of looking like. So this is an interesting one because when I started like looking at capital stuff last year and again this year, I've looked back over the years and I'm like, we've never had a plan for our taser replacement. And we've had the tasers for a long time now. And so this is on the ones we currently have are about 7 years old. They work. I think they work, right? The officers have to test them daily. They do a spark test. It's called. It's recommended by Taser that they get replaced every 5 years. The brand we have right now, Taser is the brand, right? And it is the X2. The X2 Taser is no longer making. So if we break a Taser or a part, we can't replace it. We got to buy a Taser 7 or a Taser 10. So next year, they'll be 8 years old. Like any technology products, especially high-tech electronic devices, a conductive energy weapon, high voltage, you can read what I wrote. Components wear out over time and may not operate as expected, increasing the risk of a taser failing in the field. It's critical that our officers be equipped with updated non-lethal pieces of equipment. So we've never, in the capital that I could find, have ever asked for this. I don't know. I'll be honest, I just don't know how it was funded in the past. I had it in the Financial Summit slideshow at about 50,000 because that's what I was told that's what they cost until I did the research. And that's what the number came back at. I was blown away. They're not cheap. So that's,
This is for one.
No, this is to outfit the whole department.
Oh my, I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
whoa.
20. No. No, that actually might be. Don't quote me on this. Obviously, come next year, I can elaborate more. I believe that might even be for 28. We have 24 sworn officers right now. I have a vision of growing the department just a little bit over the next 5 years by one person. So each year. So I think that's for about 28 tasers. So, anyways.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Outdated, not sure how well they're going to work, firing at other human beings, and if they don't act correctly, are we opening ourselves up to any liability issues by having older?
Well, I think
tasers?
Taser would probably say so a little bit. Again, this would get us on I believe it's on a plan to replace them every 5 years. We don't have we need a plan. Like, okay, every 5 years you need a new set of Tasers. That's what they recommend. You should just do it. And does it open up some liability? I'm sure some attorney would say yes. I do think it's important that we have this discussion next year and consider it.
Okay, thanks.
So FY28, last year we did as you recall, we did do a upgrade to some of our cameras through some of the ARPA money. I'm happy to report our cameras are in great shape right now. We've fixed what wasn't working. All of our cameras are working. But I want more. I want more cameras. I think we need some more cameras. But it's not just the cameras. Our station right now, people can access it all the time, which is a good thing. It's a public building. But there needs to be a better exterior security, overall fencing. We have people that are cutting through our back lot all the time. It sometimes can interfere with our police work when we're bringing in prisoners and you have people going to the baseball field, parking in our lots, things like that. It's recommended, especially through our accreditation, to have it more secured in our back. I envision a electronic gate system by our rear dumpster near the ball field with a 8-foot chain link fence in the back, just to kind of say, okay, this is the police department and that's the baseball field. If we need to keep a seized vehicle, we need an area to properly secure it. We don't have a great system in place for that now. So, this is for 28. I would like to include more cameras to the building, security fencing, electronic gates, and access control in the building. We have, some of our doors have access control, what I call a key fob to get in, but some don't. We really need to know who's coming and going in our building, and we need to do better in that, so. And I have ballpark ideas to fencing, if I actually just to see how much it would cost. It's, you know, it's fairly significant a fence. These are just, you know, two of the most important cameras in the building are probably in our booking room, right? Liability wise. Oh, look at that. Remember that last year? That was our, you know, this was caught on our camera. Unfortunately, we needed another camera on the other end of the building. We didn't have it. Suspect threw a brick through it at 6 a.m. And, you know, just an hour later, or an hour, if it was an hour later, it would have been in harm's way with some officers in that room, but unable to locate that person, unfortunately. 29 is our feasibility study. That will be 40 years. The building will be 40 years old right now at that point. You know, what are we going to do? Where are we going? Well, we're not going anywhere. We're staying there. Until, you know, honestly, you know, it's like, you know, I think, you know, people ask me, should we have done a public safety building? I would have said yes, you know, I'll be honest, you know,
Said
yeah,
Yes.
but you know, that ship sailed, and I wasn't, you know, anyways, it is what it is. We're at 211 Main Street until, I would say we're good there for another 20 years, in my opinion. I do have a small plan for growth, as I said, you know, if we get over this little hump that we're in right now, but, you know, I foresee, you know, we should have about 28 officers, in my opinion, and according to all studies and neighboring towns, what we compare with, we're low. We do a lot with a little. I would kind of like to grow a little bit like the fire department, but unfortunately we don't have those grants like they do. But I would like to plan something out. With that, we would probably need a little bit more room eventually in the building. So a feasibility study, the building would be 40 years old. I'm really happy that the town supported us with the exterior project this year. I think that just, it kind of boosts morale too. That building was in rough shape on the outside. I would always get comments from people like, when are you going to paint that thing? So to finally see it, you know, come to life again. As I said, we did some interior work this year. We did some, if you haven't been in since last year, come on by. We did a lot with our past history, displaying things on the wall, pictures, things like that, pictures of our officers. Again, really to build morale. So I envision we need a little addition would be nice with an added garage, some better location for our evidence room. I know some of you were there on the tour. Some more office space, locker room space, things like that. Storage. We have very little storage in the building. Hi, John.
From an operational risk perspective, your evidence room, you've got pipes above there.
Yes.
Waste pipes. You've
Correct.
got a sprinkler system. You've got comms in that room.
Correct.
You get water in there, you got problems, man.
Yeah, we know. And, I wish I was around when they designed the building in the first place, but I think I was at Peasley School at the time. But yeah, no, poorly designed. And,
Expectations were different then though, too.
100%. Yeah, great.
Could we
Yeah.
put those cardboard boxes in plastic boxes?
Yeah, so,
Like, I mean, you need your evidence.
Yeah,
You're gonna be big trouble. if you
100%.
lose your
Yeah,
evidence.
yeah. We've done some work on that. Our evidence room is you could eat off the floor. It's very clean, very neat, very organized. But those are the some of the issues, right? Which we're aware of. I think that would be something that a feasibility study would say, okay, yeah, you're right. I think the communication study could say something as well, because that's an area of the building where a lot of our communications is located, and they looked at that, and that's probably going to be part of their study. So I'll be interested to see what that says.
Just takes an overflowing toilet
Oh.
to put you in.
Yes,
We just had one today here.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. I hear you. again, not to get into too much communications, but a multi-band portable radio replacement. Again, I think this might come out in the study, so I'm not going to really harp on it. But basically, the radios we have right now, we can only talk to each other. We can't talk to our neighbors. That becomes a problem. We rely on each other for mutual aid often. We were in Boylston the other day for that incident that happened up there, and you can't talk to each other. You got to yell down the street. So these are not cheap. We had a significant incident in March of last year at Walmart in the middle of the night. I went out to that. Armed standoff. The suspect who had just robbed a place displayed a gun at the officers as they were coming down Lawrence Street. Suspect fled into the woods. We had our drone. We had Westboro's drone up immediately. Great technology. We were able to locate the individual in the woods behind the old Mexican restaurant on Route 9. We had the place surrounded, which was great. Great use of technology. The only, and I love this picture because represented there are officers from different agencies, and we had to have each department keep somebody at that command center because no one could talk to each other really. So, we need a way to talk to each other, and that's something that the study should also reflect
And
on.
our neighbors are on the same timeline to be able to do this?
Yeah, so a lot of them already have done it. Yeah, Marlboro's just recently done it. Boylston's done it. Correct.
I do love the shout out to Subway.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So, anyways, that fortunately that situation ended very well for everyone. And this is like there's the wants and the needs. I guess this is kind of a want, but for years people have been asking that I work with, how come we don't have something like this? A lot of the buildings that are being built today, a lot of police stations have some sort of a carport system. With our fleet, keeping them snow-free is difficult. We are out there like any other resident in town shoveling off our cruisers. It seems like such a small thing, but it could mean a matter of getting to someone's house 30 seconds earlier if we could just get in the car and drive away. Are there rebates, are there grants available if we put solar on top? Again, this is kind of a more of a want than a real need currently.
New England, it's practical.
Yeah, it's practical. What our system is right now, if we have a predicted storm, we would put 4 cars in our bays, in our garages, and then 4 cars would be operating, and then flip-flop them out. But yeah, I think it's practical. I think that's a good word, Susan. So, and then the rest are just cars. So
Thank you.
that's my presentation.
Good, Chief. Thank you.
Any questions or no? I'm good.
No.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice night.
Be safe out there, Chief. Thank you.
Next time we'll see Marshall.
All right, for sure.
Night.
70 pounds already.
Oh, my gosh.
Big boy.
Instead of Marshall, it's Marshall. Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, being mindful of time, I drafted a proposed criticality ranking a couple of weeks ago based on a discussion 2 meetings back. And in our existing report structure, we have priority categories, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think the conversation that led to this was identifying the criticality of the ask.
Thank you.
So I put in here as a draft, high, medium, and low. High is critical infrastructure or equipment with public safety or service level implications. Medium is equipment or asset at the end of useful life, needs to be replaced or upgraded. Low is scheduled maintenance, improvements, or repairs, and NA is not applicable. So for your consideration, what do we think about that, and where would we use it in the report?
If I may, through the chair, I guess my concern was more on saying, this is the number 1 purchase we should recommend, this is the number 2 purchase we should recommend, and 3, 4 down the line, understanding that we have limited amount of money, and we always have more requests than we have for money. I don't think, for me, this doesn't get us there.
Okay.
I understand it's all valid, but I want it And it may be hard with 6 members to be able to get the criteria to say, we all agree this is number one.
So a
We
forced
all agree-
ranking? A forced ranking?
That's what I would,
A forced of all of the articles or within a department? How do you want to see it be done?
I would do it by
item by item.
article,
It's item by item.
right?
Right.
No, I mean, you want to start at 1 and go to, say we have 44 articles. Do you want to
I
go
think
by
this- it starts
department?
with me with, we have X amount of dollars,
Okay.
and we don't go beyond that, right? At least I don't want to go beyond
Would
that.
it, I guess I'm not totally clear. What, do we have X amount of dollars? What's that number?
That's usually free cash, right? That's where,
I don't remember having this conversation last year.
yeah, I did, because I was curious on how that
Okay.
worked. In the town well, Jason, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add, we do have capacity within debt, within our debt policy to issue small amounts of debt in addition to the large projects that are coming up on the horizon. So anything that wasn't funded by the available current resources, which, if you see you're holding it, John, but this graph right here, this pie chart, has $3.2 million, and that's what we're estimating being available from free cash from current resources. The amount that exceeds that within this plan right now is 1.293 million. So if it were the position that we wanted to take of being conservative and saying we don't want to incur debt in order to fund the capital plan, that we'd have to look for 1.293 to cut out of.
I think it's a great exercise. I think it's the right conversation.
Okay, that's what I was looking for when we first brought it up. was
Yeah,
how
I
can
guess
we
I'm.
get this done
it-
without debt?
It wasn't as clear to me, and it seems like a different conversation than some of the other financial planning committees meetings that I've been involved in the past 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is criticality the right handle for this?
We have a priority ranking already.
Yeah. Again, this is my view. We have to get feedback from everybody, but it's, my personal view is, we don't spend beyond free cash. I don't want to incur any debt. One of the things I found challenging coming to this community is there is a lot of revenue, right? This town has a lot of revenue based on where I came from. So the expectation is when I go to town meeting, people just say, yeah, let's spend it, let's buy it. And my conservativeness is like, I don't want to borrow any money. If we have free cash, utilize free cash. It's a great vehicle to do this. Let's make sure we limit
So
our
do you
spending to
guys
that,
want to pick
period.
it, do you want to pick number one off of the priority rating it gets from here? And do you want to worry about how much that particular project is asking out of free cash? Or it's number one and it doesn't matter if it's $2 million?
So my caveat is, I don't want to spend beyond free cash.
Okay.
Period.
And I guess the question I have, because I mean, I agree we should spend the money like it's our own. It is our own. I think we need financial discipline. The question I have is, we're dealing at the Financial Planning Committee is a very small number in the sense of, it's an important number to keep it.
Right.
But it's a small number in the sense of overall expense for the town. So,
You mean capital, John?
excuse me?
You mean
The
capital?
capital
It
part
is.
of the budget.
Yeah, because we're using.
It's capital is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, so, yes, and the question that, isn't as obvious to me is you got another committee, the Appropriations Committee, which I should probably watch some videos to understand how they make their decisions. But are they having the same conversations that we're having in terms of,
So we're keeping it level service. There are some requests that are outside of level service, and they're looking at those separately.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's warranted, because we are trying to keep it
Plus you had
at
the
3%.
added headache of increased health costs that made everybody go back to the drawing board
And that's
to
exactly-
bring it under
Yeah, exactly.
3%.
Yeah.
It seems like you tried to bring everything in at 3%.
We did, and we're still sticking to that, but
Yeah, to be clear, the 3% is not the overall town budget.
I know.
The 3% doesn't include, that 3% estimate, that was a goal that was set with the budget instructions that were given to departments, so that was town departments. The health insurance is outside of that because that's going to be a significantly higher number than 3%. we knew from the start that some of our fixed costs, like the building insurance and the retirement assessment that we have annually from the Worcester Regional Retirement System, was going to be higher than that.
And
so.
but I've watched some of the meetings, and I've seen that you've done some creative things, like asking the school department to go to the cafeteria revolving account to pay for the health insurance for their cafeteria workers. Is that correct?
They came up with that plan.
Okay, well, they gave the
Yes.
impression that you worked collaboratively on
Oh,
it.
we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's one thing there. At the region, they're flummoxed also over the 24%, and they've gone and they have cut back their capital assessment to us to about 150 versus what is it supposed to be? 300 and some odd.
Yeah, our share of what they were proposing was 342,720
Yeah.
from this, so.
And they've cut it down to
again, this is- This
150.
is somewhat outdated, because
That was-
from what I understand, it's gonna be Thursday that the school committee meets and to talk about the revised assessment. So that amount from the reduction of the capital assessment is likely to flow into the operating assessment due to the
Yep.
additional operating costs.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, as I've watched the discussions of the different departments with their operating budgets, it doesn't seem like they took as seriously the whole idea of level spending, because I was seeing new positions being put in. And to me, level services doesn't really mean new positions. But it seems as if they've started to embrace it now that they've come up against.
To be fair, it was coming on the heels of the instructions were crafted on the heels of the summit that was over the summer, whereby people came forward with what they felt were their needs and how they needed to grow their department in the future. Those presentations were developed not in concert with the actual financial picture that was presented afterwards. So we crafted budget instructions that involved having a level service, a 3%, if their level service was not within 3%, to enunciate what they would cut in order to get to a 3% budget increase. And then their ideal request that involved what they presented over the summer, so that a policy decision could be made if something was going to be enhanced or could be added back, and there would be a price tag associated with it. And we
You
could
probably had a
understand what
better
that is.
chance of maintaining or managing that at the municipal side, but at the school budget, I mean, they were coming in at a 3.88 until this insurance issue, and they had new services in there. I guess what I'm trying to say is that what we want to do is set an example for where we think we need to go for the next couple of years to push at pulling back on spending so we don't hit that 2.5.
Good we're doing it now.
Yeah.
Well, I
Been nice
guess
to do
if I
it
could
before we
get
did
back to
fire
what I was
station.
talking
Yeah,
about.
I know.
So, John, you asked about, or maybe it was you, Susan, who asked about if we had to borrow something. So I'm looking at the borrowing, if we have to buy another fire truck, right, that's $1 million, right? That shouldn't really coming out of our free cash. That should be going to the town, do you want to incur debt to buy this? So I'm looking at the monies that are $500,000, $30,000, and ranking, these are important, we need these, yes, we should fund these, no, that should wait. I think the discussion we had with the chief about his vehicles, can you go from 3 to 2? Absolutely said, okay, I'm on board with that.
And the fire chief was up with not having to put in for all of those uniforms.
Those are all important discussions, and that's, I think,
Right.
the way I'm looking at it, that helps us maintain within our free cash.
I am really philosophically aligned with conversation. I think some of this stuff gets muddy when you talk about an ambulance coming out of a revolving fund, and like, so it's it's sleight of hand a little
Yeah,
bit. So
yeah.
there is some decision-making that's not as transparent as it would be if we looked at this thing irrespective of funding mechanism. We looked at it, and when we have those conversations, I'm not suggesting we don't need an ambulance, but like, there is a transparency piece that, that isn't as
The
clear as
ambulance
it
has
could.
multiple revenue sources to get the money from, and that's hard to understand.
Yeah, and not only that, but you're making a decision up for something, and you're like, no, we're covering it. And this is how we incrementally spend more money as we do things. And we had the conversation earlier during this financial planning committee window in which we're currently in, is we have the air conditioning unit come up, and we're talking about money that's been there since 2013 or some older age. And I'm like, well, what's that whole list? Like, is there reappropriation of that money that we should be thinking about? Because it's not, I don't know what it is, and as a financial planning committee member, I feel like it's my obligation to understand what it is. Like, it's those sort of things as we run this town that I think we need to have the conversations around.
So you want to have a straight-up vote between the committee, starting with just putting all the projects on the
Again,
table?
that's my preference, but I think logistically, with 6 members, they have everybody say, yeah, that's number 1, it's number 2. I don't know how we manage that.
We'll by
We'd be
majority vote.
splitting hairs. We had it for days.
Yeah. Yeah, so, again, I think somewhere we have to say, personally, this is how much money we have. What are we willing to fund with that money? Maybe that's all we say. Is like, okay, we have $3 million, what are we gonna fund with $3 million? And maybe that's how we vote.
Okay.
Just my thoughts.
Guess we'd have to put a plan together how we actually do that.
Yeah, it's
So it's
gonna be
not
challenging.
tedious.
Yeah,
Well, it would be the committee's recommendation to do
Right.
X.
yeah, it's
Right.
always a recommendation,
Yeah.
which is hard.
Jason, what was the tax increase in fiscal year '25 over fiscal year '24, the residential tax increase?
It's approximately 6%, I
Yeah.
think, but let me look that up.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds about right.
I thought it was 6%.
I think 6.16 was.
Yeah, yeah.
But then that
Year we got
varies
out of
based
control.
on people's house assessments too, right? So it could be 10 or 4.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. My taxes went up $1,000 a year, which is, I think it's a lot of money, but
It's not a simple, straightforward.
I understand.
Explanation, because it's the average versus the average, and the average last year is not necessarily the same as the next year, because the values increase, but there's also new stock that comes in that's
Yeah,
more valuable.
yeah, I mean, but it's that number because we need that much money to run the town. So the financial discipline conversations have an impact on your taxes, which is an obvious statement. And I'd love to understand as we're rolling up this budget, what that means for the tax. But it's broader than us. It's not just financial planning committee. It's also appropriations, like it's operating budgets, it's things. I was surprised to not be able to be equipped with that answer when residents in Northborough or neighbors asked, they thought the fire station was part of it. And I was like, no, that's coming later. That's more expensive.
I have the same issue with questions from people all over town.
Yeah.
I mean, they look to us to kind of help with that, to help
Explain it.
explain it.
But, I mean, it's OpEx and CapEx, and so.
But John, I think that, I know that piece, but I think I was surprised, and I'm closer than most residents. I was surprised last year to see the 6%. I was surprised because we have, and I like this. I wish we had this kind of financial rigor in all the decisions we made because I haven't seen this before and we're seeing it now. Maybe it's because we chose to just put the fire station through quickly, and that might be the reason we're here. And I wish we had this sort of conversation the whole time, because this is the right conversation to have, and more of the transparency, because this is the right level stuff to have. So I think that's good. My ask is, we have an idea what the impact of this is as we're going through the process, and understand what it means to residential taxes, just
Right,
so.
and I think once we have a grasp on where we're going and what other items we're going to reduce,
Yeah.
then we can,
Yeah.
once we have that number.
And we're not there now, and I don't expect to be, but it would be nice to be in better positions to go to town meeting to do that, not read the community advocate in November and people like, oh, as expected, and you're like, well, was it really expected?
Right.
So like, I think there's a credibility and piece that we can all take part in.
Absolutely, I
I
agree.
think, personally, my perspective is that we've kind of been through a management crisis in the last 2 years. We had a long-term town administrator leave and spent a lot of time with interims. And then we got a town administrator for only 10 months. And when did you actually come on board?
November 4th.
Okay, budget season really should have started sooner than that. And
Yes.
he's been doing the lion's share of all the work
Right.
for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
bringing us forward. And so we just need to build strength in our budget process and
Right.
starting earlier.
Exactly, I agree.
Yeah.
So did I hear it's a 3% increase in the operating budget?
Yes, that's what we asked.
No,
Okay.
well, yes and no.
Well,
We
three
asked for
different
departments to
scenarios.
prepare 3% budget increases, but overall, in terms of the budget next year, we're going to have a large increase in debt service because of the fire station. We're about to go out for a bond, so the exact numbers will be known fairly soon for that. Also, I mean, the health insurance piece and other fixed costs are going up a lot more than that. So the K-8 school department is coming in nearly at 3% as of the most recent revision to their budget. I believe the Algonquin assessment to us is coming in around somewhere between 5 and 6%. And noting that that's an entity of their own, and the assessment to us involves all of the fixed costs that we pay here as a town. So that's a mitigating factor to why their increase is higher than the K-8s. And additionally, Assabet's increase is going up somewhere around 20-something%. I mean, I forget the exact.
Based on our enrollment?
Partly based on our enrollment, but they are an entity of their own as well, so they're facing the same inflationary factors as their fixed costs, like the town and the Northborough, Southborough regional schools.
I mean, we have to give the region credit in that they carry their own healthcare costs, whereas the K-8 budget does not carry the healthcare costs.
Right,
It's carried in the town side of the budget.
And again, we're in a JPA, a joint purchasing arrangement with the schools, with the regional school and the town of Southborough. So what we're facing here is affecting them as well. It's the same plan.
I think I saw the schools coming in, the K-8 at 299, and the region's assessment looked like it was going to be 5.4, but they haven't voted yet.
So those are the percentages we heard, and that's separate from the capital, where we have some free cash to cover it, and then what free cash we don't have allocated for, we need to borrow $1 million plus in some,
Right.
in some
So
form.
there's that gap,
Yeah.
And what I really enjoyed about the police chief's presentation, I find him to be forward-thinking a bit, talking about increasing the useful life of the police car, thinking about some of the things he can do. And I think those conversations should make their way through DPW, they should make their way through fire. So those are things that like give me more confidence about respecting the money that's being, and treating like your own.
right?
So it's, I guess more of a comment that I was very pleased to see the approach he took and the conversation around it.
And I liked how the conversation took place between you and the chief. Like, what do you think? Do you think if you could cut that? In Holden, that's what we used to do. We had, again, the 5-town school
Yeah,
district.
you put your cards on the table.
Well, we said, hey, listen, this is the gap that we need to fund. Where out of your budget would you, so we put the priority on them, because who am I don't know if a 1-ton truck is, your priority versus the, F-350. I have no idea. But they know the amount of money that we need to cut out. So where in your budget could you cut it from?
Yeah.
And it's,
He does a nice job.
I think so. I think it's the clearest example I've seen out of everything we've presented so far.
So we meet tomorrow night. How would you like to move forward, John?
Do you have those drafts done yet?
Which ones are those, John?
The first draft of the report?
No, I don't. I don't have the first draft.
So there's nothing we
report.
give
I
people
can-
to look at overnight.
No.
So tomorrow will be the first time we look at this, yes? Okay. There's a report that's drafted, and Jason has to fill in some financial numbers and sources of funds. And then I believe we can go page by page from there. Now, Scott will not be with us tomorrow night. Rob, you're not going to be available. That means the 4 of us have to be here to have a quorum. Will we all be here? 5
Yes,
PM.
I'll be here.
John?
I'll be here.
Oh, you can
Okay.
make it at 5.
We
But
talked
that's-
about this. I
that's it.
proposed 5.
That's in there, okay.
Come on, look what we have.
That's the plan.
Dinner plans.
So the expectation is we'll go page by page, item by item in the report.
Okay.
And I have the expectation if we get as much of that done as we can, we'll go for a vote next Monday.
Okay.
17th.
Let's do it.
Scott will be back. I've told him, be prepared for that.
Okay.
that work for everybody?
Yeah, that works. Sounds great.
And I know he loves to leave. I just want to bring up two items.
I'm an old man, I have limited patience.
I understand that you actually were on a schedule, I can tell.
Really?
I'm married to one like you, but,
Bless him.
bless me. I think, I really want to have a discussion at some point in time about how we perceive technology. Because years ago, when I was on this committee, we worked really hard to get the schools to incorporate technology into their operating budget, and we didn't capitalize it. We're going back to that now. And if we start supporting how they're doing it, we're gonna set ourselves up for that. So I'd like a discussion about that. And then I'm a little bit concerned about some of the projects that have been brought forward that we really weren't even told about. And we were told that they were multifaceted for many schools, playground equipment. And it turns out it's just going to be one playground that's going to be done. And I just,
That's not what I read, but go ahead.
I think we need to have some of those kinds of conversations. But for long-term, the more expensive item is the technology. Because when I listen to a school committee meeting, there are no details to how they're going to spend the first year's $75,000. They don't really know. So for me, it's like, go develop a better plan and let's defer that to next year, is the way I take away from having watched that. But that's me, one person watching something, and it's an opinion. But I also have a stronger opinion about, do we want to capitalize that kind of technology? That's all.
In the business world, most people do. It's a cash expense, bam. Yeah. You might amortize it over 3 years or more. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's worth, when we get to line items,
Okay.
we'll kick them
All right.
around. Jason, anything else?
No, I mean, I'll update this, this graph for tomorrow, like, based on what I understand from the schools is gonna happen, but it's not gonna change much.
All right. So as we go item by item, these numbers may have changed, or will they be as current as possible?
I don't think anything's gonna change beyond the Algonquin.
I'm saying, aside from Algonquin, some of the other numbers, do we expect more than one area to change?
No, I don't think anything else is gonna change.
Okay, all right. All right. Next meeting is tomorrow, 5 PM here, and then the 17th, Monday at 5 PM here, and hopefully we'll finalize the report and have our votes then.
And do we have that meeting just for 1 hour tomorrow? Is there something that's being done in here? or-
Oh, because it was double booked with appropriations, that's what the,
Is that for tomorrow?
Yep, at
Okay.
6.
So we have to be out of here at 6 or find
Is there another
another
venue in
space.
which we can do it? It's a public meeting, I assume?
They both would be, John.
The appropriations is on Thursday.
Oh, sugar,
So,
you're right.
I think
Yeah.
that I think the 5 PM start time was so that we could have
Get
more
a jump.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh.
I see this taking more than an hour.
I would think so.
Yes.
So is it next Monday? That's the next week, the 5?
Right, so-
Whatever, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
So I think we were gonna meet tomorrow at 5, and then the following Monday at 5 PM as well.
Correct, yeah. And we've got a hard stop to get this to the select board before the 24th, by or before the 24th? Yes?
Yes, we do. It's 35 days from the town meeting for when our report is due, and it counts out directly at
When
the
is town
the
meeting again?
24th.
Sorry, John?
When's town meeting?
28th of April, I believe.
28th of April.
April 28th,
Are
Monday?
you sure that appropriations isn't meeting tomorrow?
Chief left those? The chief left those? Yes.
Oh, shoot.
We're in trouble
Would the chief leave?
have them post the agenda.
The body cams.
Cameras.
I'm gonna become a vlogger.
Wait,
Oh, wow.
Gonna walk around the
Keep
street.
your hands free.
This, you can see it coming, right? You can see how it builds, but it doesn't, people can't on TV, they don't see, you see it, but they don't see it.
6 to...
So, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion.
Well, wait,
Oh,
we're
okay.
still working out the
One second.
schedule.
But we're not.
Beginning to sway back and forth in the chair.
This way all night. I was
So
looking at myself the other day, and I go,
appropriations
oh my
was
God.
deleted.
So the meeting where it was proposed to meet on the 13th, which is Thursday, I know that the chair had called in and said that they were thinking of meeting on the 13th. So that's what's the confusion about the Wednesday versus Thursday.
Okay.
So
Right the way
Okay.
to
we
use it.
have tomorrow and Monday, yes?
Yes.
Fine,
Yeah.
done, okay.
Yeah.
Any other business? Move to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. It is 8:07.
A
Second.
second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Watch 'em
Meeting is over at 8:07 PM. Thank you all.
Right.